Hello, my Facebook family. I hope everybody's doing well today. Did everybody have a good day at school?
Yeah.
Define good
Did my teachers have a
day.
good day at school?
Define a good
There were
day.
good parts and there were less good parts.
Yes, absolutely. And that's always the way it is because we have learned to roll with the good parts and the
And-
less than good parts.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Crystal Dillard, and thank you for tuning in to my Crystal Loves Texas podcast. And today we are sitting here with we actually have three Houston area educators on today, and everybody knows the kinds of things that have been happening in Houston area schools. And you don't have to, I mean, you can pretty much throw an egg and hit something that is the shocking that we hear of that's going on in Houston area schools. And we are gonna I've had questions about what some of those things are because I am no longer teaching in a Houston area school right now, but I do have very, very good um, experience with many of the things, some good, some bad. And I gotta always remember to look right here. We gotta look at that blue thing, Rebecca. Melissa, we gotta look at that blue thing. But before we even get started, guys, we've got a great show for you here today, and I want you to really um, listen carefully to the dialogue that we have because you have probably are going to have some questions about what we are talking about too. I encourage you to send in your comments because we're going to be actually looking at comments and commenting on those comments real time. I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves. And we've got three guests here today. One's going to be coming in just a second. I've got two here in studio. But my first guest, let's go ahead. And she is to my right. And introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Melissa Yarborough and I teach at a Houston area school. I've been here for about 3 years in Houston. And
you're a parent.
I'm a parent
of a Houston area school student.
Two children in the elementary here in Houston. And living the family teacher life.
Yes, absolutely. And of course,
hi guys. Y'all haven't seen me in 3 weeks.
We haven't. We thought you abandoned us.
Did y'all miss me?
Us, Rebecca Williams.
Did y'all miss me? Well, hello. My name is Rebecca Williams, and you guys already know that I'm a teacher, and of course, I'm a teacher in Houston.
Yes,
and I teach history, so y'all know that already, though.
Well, Rebecca Williams and Melissa Yarborough, you guys I brought in here because not only are you all teachers in Houston area schools, you've been here through many different manifestations of supervision in Houston area schools, and even myself I've been in HISD for 17 years, and I've seen a lot of things change. Now, I will say this to both of you, and I'm sure that you would agree with me. But if you don't agree with me, please tell me. Since I've been here in HISD, I know that many, many things needed to in some way change. There were challenges. There are challenges that have got to be addressed.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
So definitely, if you've been in one of the largest school districts and in any amount of time, whether you were there for a day or whether you've been there for 8 years, 10 years, 25 years, 30 years, you know that there was some things that needed to be adjusted.
And that goes for school districts all around our state.
The nation.
That's right. Because as society changes, as socioeconomics change, as the look that families have changed, we as educators are going to have to address those changes and shift real time. We just are going to have to do that. That is a given.
Right.
And I think that any educator, as an educator, I will say this. I have had to become much more flexible. I've had to step into roles that I never knew I'd have to step into. But when you think about it, when you really have to step back and look at it, we see our students probably more hours of the day than many of our parents
Yeah.
see their children. So in many ways, we are going to have to step into the roles of surrogate parents or surrogate, even though you don't want to. When you're a teacher, you know, because they'll come to you, and if they're crying, you're going to have to say, tell me what's going on. You know, that's just the a responsibility that we assume. But in that, our school systems are going to have to shift too. We can't have the same school systems and the same structures in place that we had in 1985, 2005, 2015. Those things have to change. So, Rebecca, let me ask you this, and then I'm going to shift over to Melissa. Tell me how long you have been teaching in Houston area schools.
8 years. 8 years total of 10.
Okay. Melissa, how long have you? You said 3 years.
3 years here in Houston,
Okay.
8 years as a teacher though, and I've been in other states and districts.
Okay. Now, of course, when
So
you told
11
me that,
years total, maybe.
8 total.
Okay.
5 outside Houston, 3 in.
and when you say that, then you have got a very good frame of reference as far as the differences that you've seen. So, in the school, in the states, do you mind divulging what states you've taught in?
Sure, I've taught in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh,
Very
completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different,
Yeah.
and probably different from the Houston area.
Very much so. I gotta be honest, I was shocked coming from Louisiana. You know, everybody in Louisiana says, well, everything's better in Houston, go to Houston, right?
Yeah.
It's a bigger city. It's they say better education, better this, better that. So,
You hear horrible things about Louisiana, and it always makes you wonder, could all that be true?
well, I come here and I was shocked
Wow.
to see that, you know, one of the things you brought up a few minutes ago was that things weren't perfect before.
Right.
But
Oh,
so
never have been perfect. No.
when I got to Houston, I was surprised at how Houston wasn't following best practices.
Right.
Even though on the state, on paper, the best practices are written out, but Houston was star prep all day, every day, at least
Yes.
where I was.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's not best practice.
Well, is it even best practice for life to teach to a test? And there's our third teacher, our fourth teacher. There she is. Hey, our teacher, how are you? She looks so pretty. Hey,
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Mary Grimes. I taught for about 9 years,
But we don't
and I
want
had to go ahead and resign. But you know, I'm trying to find my way back into the classroom. Still
you sure?
certified.
I
Are you
know.
sure?
Stay away. Far away.
No, but Mary actually, let me go ahead and say this. We have something in common. All of us who are sitting here at the table, and Mary coming in remotely, we have something in common. We all taught at the same school, but at different times.
Right.
So we have some touch point on the experiences that we have, some similar touch points, but some of our experiences may be different. Now, Mary, you have been out of the classroom for how long? 3 years or 2.5 years?
About 2.5 since 2021.
Okay, and you left pre-COVID, correct? Or after COVID?
After COVID.
Okay, you left after COVID, so you came back into the classroom after we were transitioning back in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mary, let me ask you this. So all of us have been in the classroom more than 5 years. More than 5 years. So we were able to reach that 5-year threshold and continue, which to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, which to me says that we have some level of commitment to the occupation.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Commitment and experience.
Yes. And
money invested.
Yes. And
Very much so.
I'm going to tell you guys a little anecdote in a minute about when Melissa speaks to experience, about how I've seen some things change just in the last year. Just in the last year. with where I was teaching. But Melissa, and then Rebecca, and then Mary, what made you decide at the juncture in your life where we are right now that you wanted to become a teacher? Did anyone study to be a teacher in college? Was that what you majored in, education?
It wasn't my plan, but I stumbled into it.
Okay.
A friend of mine recommended this education course.
Okay.
And I said, sure, why not? I have to fulfill a requirement.
Yes.
So let me just take that one. And it just, I was wowed by everything I was learning about history of education in the United States.
Yes.
And it kind of opened my mind to a lot of things.
History
and
of public education.
Public
Right.
education.
Yes.
And made me interested in getting involved to just try to do the best we can for our students, because that has been lacking in many ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mary, what made you decide to become a teacher? I know the story, but I want everybody else to know, because we also taught with Mary's mom. So we got a history of
very long extended history.
How did you come into teaching?
I started actually when I was in college. I wanted to be a nurse. And the thing that, my mom always said about nursing is, they're very hard workers, but they don't get a break. And then she kind of showed me, with teaching and education, you can still follow your passion. You can pass that on to kids, and then you'll get your break. It's so many benefits that she showed me the education had. Especially when she first started teaching, I mean, they had some serious benefits. So she got grandfathered into certain things. That's my daughter. Wow. I'm so sorry. But okay. The thing that also inspired me to start teaching, whenever we would go to Walgreens, Kroger, even Fiesta, like up the street around my house, she would always run into someone, and it was always with a pleasant, smile or a fond memory. And, they always, for some reason, her last name had weight, oh, Miss Sanders. Oh, yeah. Yes. So, that's something I admired. And that kind of, swayed my decision when I was in college. And I said, I'm struggling so bad, especially with those nursing classes, that anatomy and physiology was no joke. Yes. So I just followed my other passion, which was English language arts. And I went with that.
Right. And Rebecca, how about you?
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed because you guys have all of these stories. I don't. So no. I was working for my state representative because my degree is in political science with a minor in English. And he lost his election, and all of the other local politicians were vying for me to come work with them. But at 24, I'm like, no, I'm loyal. I'm not going to do it. And then I was trying to find a job, and everybody was like, well, go teach. And so I was like, oh, no, absolutely not. I don't like kids like that.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
But when you got in there, what happened?
But then when I got in, it was just like, the whole idea was for me to teach until I found something that I really liked. I'm being honest. Yeah. I'm sorry. So, but then it was just like, I'm here. So yeah, I'm being honest. It was like, I'm here.
You heard it live.
I'm here.
So are you one of those teachers who's just kind of there?
Not at first. Like once I finally I got my foot wet, and I was just like, okay, I'll do this until retirement, and then I'll go. Like I'm just being honest. So
you can take it or leave it.
Yeah, basically.
Wow. But you know what? That is an honest.
But that's a reality that a lot of people try to hide and make it seem. No, I'm not gonna hide and be honest and tell you the truth.
And yet, like some people will hear that and think, "Oh, that's a bad teacher." No, because
my scores
I've seen that your heart's in it. I've seen you put your heart in your work, and I've heard students sing your praises.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, I will say this: I never wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to be a teacher, but I came from a long line of teachers, and because of that, they said if you go and you pursue exactly what you want, but while you're at it, go ahead and get your teaching certification, because you'll always have something to
Fall back
Fall
on.
back on. Yeah.
There you go.
Plan B.
The fact that all of us said
I
it.
know. So that means people have been saying that for a long time. And so when it was presented to me in that way, that made me feel that, my gosh, if I fail at everything else, I can always be
Go
a teacher.
teach.
So of course I was pushing as far as I could to do something other than teaching. But it's amazing how where you are supposed to be will eventually catch up with you.
Right.
And I've been teaching for 17 years now, and I can honestly say I love my students. I love my students. Never thought I would say that. Never thought I would say that, because you hear so many horror stories about what happens with some teachers, and you know, every other day there's something that comes on the news, or something that comes on Dateline or something, where it's a horror story that's happened in the classroom. But if you are doing what you are supposed to do, and you're doing it, it is a passion, and you feel good about what you're doing, I think that things will work themselves out.
And I think that's another point that I wanted to make. Even though the classroom was not my passion, being in the classroom, I found my passion. Let me say
I'm glad you clarified that.
So
yes.
Yes. So even though that wasn't, but here's the thing, and this is what I tell all the educators, that whether they're in the classroom in Texas, Houston, United States, we all represent a different dynamic. And I think people think that teachers, like everybody else, is a monolith, and we're not.
Right.
That's right.
You know, we all have different passions within the profession. We all have different areas within the profession, you know. So I don't want to get it twisted, but I also want to be very honest that all teachers are not a monolith. We're all different. We all have different passions, not just the subjects that we teach, but just our different passions within the profession is different.
Well, ladies, let me throw this out here. Now, all of us live in the Houston area, and we learned in July, if you live in Houston, anywhere around, and you've listened to the news at all, that there would be huge changes going on in Houston area schools. We all knew that. And more districts than one. Lots of districts experience change. But we learned in July that there would be a lot of changes. Now, about 7 months ago? I'm gonna say, is that about 7 months ago?
June?
ELA on that math.
June.
Oh, okay. June.
Right.
Okay.
12 minus.
Okay, in June.
So 6 months ago.
Yes. Now, did you ever imagine that we would be facing with these changes taking place? Did we ever imagine that we'd be facing the types of challenges that we are facing now?
I'm gonna say yes. I knew.
Okay. And why?
Because I'm gonna just say I didn't know to the degree,
right? Yes.
But I knew what was coming because I warned everybody at this table what was to come down the pipe. Did I not? I was sounding the alarm.
Okay. And so, but you haven't told us what were some of the changes.
The way we deliver instruction.
Okay.
Which all of us can agree. Okay. The way that we dole our consequences, the way we dole our rewards.
To teachers or to students?
To students, both.
Okay.
Yes. I'm gonna let you speak to that last one.
Yes.
Because I get a little too real. But the whole gamut has changed completely. Like you don't even recognize it.
In a good way. Are there some positive changes that have happened?
Not in my view, no.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you have seen come to fruition with many of the new things?
Take your time, Melissa.
It's such a long list. One thing comes to mind. When you said dole out rewards and consequences, one thing came to mind, and it's been on my mind every time I hear announcements each day at my school. It used to be that if a teacher or a student was called out on announcements, a shout out, it was because they had done some great thing. Like some teacher had put on this amazing project,
Yes.
science fair thing, or a student had done this amazing work, or
Right.
these teachers had won some kind of award,
Yes.
or gone to represent the school somewhere. The kids did.
Aw.
Now you know what we hear for shout outs on the announcement.
I'm afraid to ask.
Shout out to Mr. So and so for having the kids get to the DOL on time.
Oh,
Shout
wow.
out to Mrs. So and so for using the table talk strategy today.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
it feels like we're seen as babies
Yeah.
who are told, "Good job, you used the potty," instead of
Yes.
doing it on the floor.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's humiliating.
Yeah. Well,
What we call it, the infantilization of it all,
Teachers.
of teachers.
okay. Well, Mary, how would you speak to that? When the last time that you were in the classroom, let me ask you this: Did you feel like you were able to exert some autonomy in your classroom?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think a lot more than any teacher probably feels now. I would say yes.
Yeah.
Anytime you have any introduction of a new system, there's always some sort of political push, behind it.
Right.
And the one thing my mom had always taught me is, at least what she used to say is, I can always outlast anybody. But I honestly feel as though this system would have worn her, down a little bit. I feel like, when I was last in the classroom, back in 2020, 2021, I mean, even then I was able to put my own stamp on certain things, and the kids can kind of remember the sayings that you give them or the style in which you present things. And, even at one point, especially when I was first starting off, and I first started off, I didn't start off in the big, area. I started off in a smaller area, but
Yes.
sorry, my daughter's playing with my hair.
Okay.
But the one thing is that I was not only just creating my own lesson plans, I was creating my own authentic worksheets sometimes.
Right.
And even though at the time it was a necessity, but at the same time, the kids remembered it a little bit better because it's personal. And I feel as though that's something I learned when I was doing my internship and my practicum, and I try to take that with me because I remember, and I'll never forget this lady. Her name was Miss Rhonda Cooley. We were in, I believe she was somewhere in Lufkin, East Texas.
Mhm.
Okay. And Miss Cooley, she had a mullet and everything. But as different as she was from those kids, because those kids, didn't look anything like her, didn't sound anything like her. But she brought an authentic part of herself
Yes.
that they connected to. And she
Right.
always had a story with something that she was teaching.
Mhm.
And with that story that she,
Yes.
she was presenting,
Yes.
those kids latched on to the idea of what it was they were supposed to understand. So it was something that I feel as though I was able to bring it to my own classroom at one point.
Yes.
But I feel, now, especially because, and I hate saying this because it's not just one particular district over the other that would do this, but it's almost like, I feel like everyone's trying to be cookie cutter. And I hate saying that, but at the same time, that's what you see because it feels more like a business rather
Yeah.
than a community, human experience. This is like, well, let's take out the emotional part. Let's take out the authentic part and make it, cookie
One
cutter.
size fits all.
And
Mhm.
To that.
you hit on so many things because the authenticity has been taken out. They've got people in, I'm going to name the school district where these big changes are happening. They've got people in HISD because it's in the news.
Yes.
In an office creating curriculum that is, first of all, created about a week in advance. And it's being hodgepodge pulled together
So it's
by
not
people
vetted. What you're saying is that it's not vetted?
No,
Okay.
it's not vetted by
Okay.
anybody but themselves. And then they push it out to all the schools, and all the schools have to follow this slideshow, this test, this everything. And so there's no more, I'm going to put my story in it. I'm going to use my students' names in the questions to get them just
Right.
slightly
To
interested
relate
in
to
it.
it,
Yeah,
yes.
relate to it. Or, so and so, this student told us a story the other day. I'm going to sneak that into the lesson so
Right.
it kind of gets their interest. And there's none of that personal touch. And, on the very first day, the superintendent made sure that every school knew that they were not allowed to get to know each other on the first day. You've got to use the slideshow that somebody else has created for you without changing, just change the errors, but don't change anything else. And
Wait a minute.
cookie
Change
one
the
of the-
cutter.
errors. Change the errors. What do you mean by that? Now, if there is a new structure coming in, hopefully, anytime something is going to come in that's new is you would think in theory that it should be better. To me, better means that the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed. So why wouldn't you have to correct anything?
Well, the plane's being built in the air. So they're doing it quick. They're doing it, I would imagine they're understaffed. That's my guess.
Okay, so for the people who are watching and don't really understand what's going on, let me just give you an example. I'm a history teacher, and one of the things we do in history, and so is Crystal, one of the things we do in history, we do a lot of projects. It broke my heart when one of my kids, whose sibling I taught, was saying, "Oh, Miss Williams, I'm so excited to finally have you. Like, my brother will come home and tell my mom and dad all of the projects you would have them do." And he was super excited about it. And he was like, "Now I get to do the projects." And he was like, "And now I told my brother I'm gonna do the projects better than him." And I'm sitting there and I was just blank stare for 2 minutes. And for me to tell that child, "Oh no, we can no longer do projects because the district said we are not allowed to do that anymore." Do you know how heartbreaking that is? And he looked at me as if I was joking. But so those are the type of, because those projects, and if you ask any child who's ever taken me in 8 years, whether it be in HISD or charter school, for the little time I worked in charter school, they will tell you one of the most interesting things about my class is projects in history. It brought history to life for them. And to not have that now,
Well,
it's so that's some of the
maybe
changes.
a little bit disheartening. A lot
Yeah.
disheartening. Ladies, do you believe that people are? Well, let me ask you this. We're all aware that that the teaching profession is not one of the most popular vocations today, right? Okay, we just don't have people running and jumping into education and saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait. We're on the waiting list to be in the education department." Okay, we know that. Okay, now with that in mind, for those who are actually going into the profession, either being trained for it or who are going into it alternatively, in your opinion, why are they making this choice? Knowing that what teachers are up against, why are they making this choice?
You want to take it, Miss Grimes?
Right. Because you're coming.
I need to hear one more part of that question, the last part, because my daughter was right in my ear. I'm sorry.
Well, anybody could answer this. Why are the people who are coming into the profession coming in now? Many people are not coming. People are not in education preparation classes in college like they were 30 years ago.
Oh, I can answer that.
It's not popular anymore. For those that are coming in, why are they coming? Why do you think they're coming in now? I'll speak to that for a minute. And let me just tell you what I witnessed. Before school started this year, I went down to my school district to turn in some paperwork for a name change. And first of all, when I went down there, it was truly like a cattle call. There had to be 300 people standing, sweating in the lobby trying to get in, almost like you would think that there was a lotto for
Concert tickets.
the concert tickets or something. And let me say this, they were dressed just like that. There were girls in Daisy Duke type shorts. I hate to use this term, but I want everybody to know what I'm talking about. They call it a wife beater. but the tank tops, the thin strap tank tops without any undergarments on under that, in flip flop thongs. They were waiting to go in to have their interviews and to turn in their paperwork. And I'm thinking to myself,
Interviews.
this is yes, this is what's coming into my school district. I took some pictures. You know, as candidly as I could
Messy.
without anybody seeing me. And then I texted them to my mother and I said, look at this. And the thing about it is, when we got into the second staging area of this particular fiasco, I may say, we sat down and I happened to be sitting next to one of the young ladies in the wife beater shirt and the short shorts and the thongs. And we started talking, and she was a very pleasant person, quite an intelligent young lady, but this is what she knew of how to present herself in a professional way. So in my opinion, I'm thinking that if this is the way that this young lady comes into a professional situation to apply for, no, I'm going to say to get paperwork in order, because she'd already been hired or she wouldn't have been there, okay, for a job, then what in the world is she going to do when she walks into that classroom?
Well, here's
with the students.
Here's the thing. This is why people choose the teacher profession, and I think this is because, oh, y'all get summers off. Oh, y'all get every holiday. Oh, I get to be off on the weekends with my kids. Good enough for me. You don't hear anything about, oh, I love children. Oh, I want children to learn. Or you hear the opposite of that.
I couldn't get on in my profession that I wanted to get.
Okay, well, three things.
Yeah.
Then you hear, well, I couldn't find a job in my field,
That's
so
right.
I went to go teach.
That's right.
And then the
That's right.
third thing you hear, oh my God, these children need saving.
Oh yeah.
And I want to save them and change the world and make a difference. So it's almost like a white savior complex. So you, excuse the term, my apologies.
You got to explain that.
No, it exists.
Oh, okay. So the white savior complex, and we joke about this in education. That's why I said excuse the term. But it's, oh, I have to do something because they live so pathetic lives. They need somebody to save them.
And it does not have to be a white savior. It can just be a savior complex. Because you see,
so you don't hear about, oh, I want children to better the world, or you don't hear that. You hear those three things. So this is what we have.
So Melissa, are they entering into it for the money? Let's speak a little bit on that right now, because the money, that was something that was very much in the news in the Houston area. And many people made a mad rush to apply for positions, because there was a certain amount of money that was presented as that would be the starting salary with zero experience right out of the gate.
Right. If you don't mind.
Yes.
So my children go to a school in HISD that is NES. And what that means is it was one of the 28 that was originally handpicked by the superintendent to, first of all, wipe out all the teachers that were there. The first rule was, and I learned this in June when the teachers were texting me, did you have to reapply for your job too?
Yeah.
I said, no, not my school. Mine wasn't NES like yours. They all had to reapply for their job, including the principal, including the office staff, every single teacher. And it wasn't going to be an easy, quick process. You're going to have to reapply, and you'll find out later in August if we're going to accept you back or not.
So they couldn't go and go to another school.
They could, and they did.
Okay.
All but two left. Two reapplied and got it. And then in July, when they were scrambling and didn't have enough teachers. Oh, this is going back to pay too. I'm sorry. There's so many problems. But when they didn't have enough teachers, then the principal started calling the old teachers, because parents were helping out getting their numbers, and calling the old teachers and begging them to come back. And some of them left their new district jobs to come back to their old one. Now, what the superintendent promised was, this is a good thing. We're making the teachers reapply so we can weed out those bad teachers. There's this mythical bad teacher.
But you skipped a very important part. How was your children's school rated?
A.
Okay. That's important.
A.
Okay. By the TEA.
Yes.
Rated A.
With
Okay.
a
So you
with
couldn't
a
get
dual
much- you
language
couldn't get any
program,
higher.
magnet program.
You can't get any
Mm-mm.
higher than A. Okay.
Most of the school population opts in from outside of their zone because it is
Wow.
such a great school, or
Oh, wow.
was.
So they were doing something right.
They were doing something right. In fact, their math star scores had been in the 80s, in the 80%.
That's
And
unheard of in the
and ELA,
state.
math
Yes.
and ELA. Yeah. And the superintendent said, "Oh, 1 year does not make a pattern."
That means that they had moved
Turned it
along.
around.
They had moved along until they found the right strategy.
Correct.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
had done it consistently enough so
Yes.
that by that time the fifth graders were taking it,
That's
the fifth
right.
graders were passing
Yes.
with
Okay.
flying colors. So again, with all the problems, where was I? So
The money.
the money.
Yes.
The promise by the superintendent was, we're going to weed out the bad teachers by making them all reapply, and then we're going to pay them so much more money than than an average school teacher in HSD was 60 some, or like
They started out at
61,000.
62.
okay,
62, I
60
think, yeah.
is the starting. Well, these teachers are going to make 90,000. Doesn't matter like where they are in their career. They're going to be like, even if they're starting out, they're going to be in the 90,000s. So going from 60 to jump into 90. And this is how we're going to
Repeat that.
jump in from $60,000 at a non-NES school to 90,000 at an NES school.
That was actually said. That was printed.
But yeah, it was.
Yes, it
I believe
was.
it was maybe 80,000 as the salary, but the 10,000 stipend on top of that, and so
Gotcha.
hitting about 90,000.
Okay.
Mhm.
So everybody now understands where the 90,000 came from.
Okay. Yes.
And that was the promise. This is going to lure the best teachers.
Right.
I don't know. I've never seen just throwing money out luring the best people. It lures the people who need $90,000.
Yeah. By any
And-
means necessary.
I was just about to say on Indeed.
Yeah.
On Indeed, it's on there. Like, and it's still currently on there. Not just
No.
yeah, it specifically says NES, and
Yeah.
it specifically I'm talking about administrators, I'm talking about teachers. You see a range on Indeed, and the range
I would have to shut
it's
it down.
from, I think it starts at 70 or something like that, all the way to 85.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, because the stipend we just recently learned is contingent on several factors.
Yeah. Was that
Several
presented to you
factors.
initially?
Oh no.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
Well, I wonder if they even have the money that they promised.
And for those people who will be the teachers who came in and they've worked, they've been employed with this said district up until now, then that particular money is supposed to come to you when?
Well, it's
On
supposed
your
to be
paycheck on the what?
Okay, so it's supposed to come in 2 waves. The first wave of the money comes in December, and
December
then the
what?
20.
20th.
and then the last wave of the money comes in June.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the first payment in June, which would
Right.
be our like last day of school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to answer your question just a little bit,
Yeah.
the money, well, 61, we'll just the 61,000 base. If I'm 22 years old,
That sounds pretty good.
coming out of college,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna make $61,000 just coming out of college, and I still got student loan debt. I got this kind of debt, possibly a little credit card debt.
Mhm.
61,000, and I'm 21. I'll rock with it.
Well, let me tell you. Well, yeah, because that would make sense. That would make sense. But when you go in now, this is something that I've heard, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong. When you go in, you agree to this, okay, in your initial meeting. But when you go in to sign your contract, the contract says something totally differently than what you agreed to.
So how it works, they had an offer letter. And in the offer letter, it came in 2 parts. The
Mhm.
offer letter. So when they got the offer letter said, hey, you're making $90,000, you're making $80,000 with the $10,000 stipend, because that was the exact verbiage in the
Right.
offer letter.
Right.
But when they got the contracts,
Mm.
right,
The ones who did.
the ones who did get contracts, then it was, oh no, you're gonna make 64 or you're gonna make 65. So you had all of these teachers that were saying,
breach of
whoa.
contract.
Stop. That's not what you told me in the offer letter when
Absolutely.
you presented this to me.
Absolutely.
And then you had HR literally saying, okay, we understand what was in the offer letter, but this is the
You can take
contract.
it or leave it. Now, let me tell you what I know of, because I just got a text yesterday with and I did not realize this, but someone gave me told me that that were some teachers in the district that we're talking about uh, already given contracts to sign right now before school. Okay, that now I don't. We usually sign the contract in April, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so and was that contract given under duress? Either you sign this or
You don't, and it was.
okay. Now, here's the thing. This teacher is a stellar teacher who's been teaching for 27 years. And
Vet in the game.
she was in one of the highest paying school districts, a very, very elite, right outside of Houston school district, um, for the last 10 years. Okay. She left a teaching salary of upwards of $80,000 there because she was courted into HI into another school district from this one, saying that she was going to be paid 197 base plus
Wow.
this other, at the struggling school. I won't name the letters of the struggling school, but this she accepted it, left that position where she was in a semi-administrative position in her department, that she'd been there 10 years. Nothing wrong with it. She had her routine. She knew exactly what was going on. She was very highly uh, uh, looked upon in that district. She came over to this other school district, and when she went in, I will never forget, because we were sitting together in our training prior to school starting. She went over to sign her contract, and when she got there, she called me back and she said, "Wait a minute,
Uh-oh.
wait a minute. On this paperwork, it says that I'm going to be making." What I was offered was
Mhm.
the 87,000 plus this extra amount, where she was going to be making over right at almost $100,000.
Mhm.
And when I got in here, this said $63,000.
No.
I said no. She said, I quit my job.
Oh, God.
And came to this. So now she has a situation where she's looking at legal action
Mhm.
Okay.
because of that.
So
Yeah.
let me give y'all a little Williams wisdom. And I told all three of y'all this, and y'all agreed. Teachers are not respected nowhere in America. Let's just be real.
Mm-mm.
Anybody that's offering a classroom teacher that has not been in the classroom 30, 40 plus years, 25 plus, 80, 90, $100,000, something's wrong with that picture.
Well, let me say this.
That's some
Now,
Williams wisdom for
now
y'all.
here's the thing, and there's some things that I want to touch on because we only got a few minutes left, and I do want to touch on this. But my position is this: teaching is not like corporate America. Teaching is not like corporate America.
Exactly.
And in corporate America, you have candidates who are jockeying and vying for a certain amount of positions.
Yep.
Right.
In education, you have multiple positions that cannot be filled because there are not enough people to fill them.
Right.
So when you take the posture, it's very important when you are in leadership, especially in education. Your number one priority, and I'm going to just say priority, needs to be your ability to read the room. Sometimes the best thing to do when you come in is take a look around and observe what you're dealing with first. Okay. Then you decide how you're going to go forward, because every situation is different. If you haven't looked at your dynamics, then you're not going to know how to move forward. And once you read those dynamics, you may have to shift in the middle, but that shift has got to be the kind of shift. Long story short, teachers If someone comes in with an iron rod and say, you got to do this and you got to do this or else you're out. Well, you know what? A teacher is a commodity. They can go
Exactly.
anywhere
Exactly.
and still get a job and not have to do that.
Yeah.
So they're going to say, I'm out.
Goodbye.
So you
And they are.
can,
And
so
they
you
are.
can beat
Goodbye.
that stick. So that's what I'm saying. You know, you got to be smart enough to know that that's the wrong approach that you take here. If you want to have your same objective met, the exact same objective met, come in with you can have the exact same thing in your mind that you want to happen, but come in and let us think that we're helping you make decisions. At least let us, say, tell me what your opinion is on this. And you may make the same decision in the end, but let us think that we are helping you come to a consensus on something or have some input in something. And that's where you get your buy-in, because at the end of the day, you've got to have buy-in or you're going to have goodbye.
Yeah.
And when you have goodbye in hundreds, by the hundreds, is that the position that's going to leave you in your most favorable and most successful position?
Can I speak on that?
Yourself. I didn't hear you.
Can I speak on that? So the part with that buy-in is so important, but it's also maintaining, right? It's maintenance.
That's right.
It's almost as if, I don't know where there was a shift or a turn in where teachers were once respected and now we're the scapegoats for a lot of things.
Right.
It almost seems as though it is not just coming from one end, it's coming from both ends, right? You're supposed to be in charge of these children and you're supposed to be able to relate to them and connect to them and give them the things that they need in order to be productive adults. But if my hands are tied behind my back at every turn because I have to do, instead of looking at, let's say, the material, I'm worried about my data, right? Or I'm looking at, oh, well, how can I present this new lesson to another teacher, right? As if it's a part of my curriculum, when really it's more or less just like we like to say, the dog and pony show. We know when things are authentic and coming to us as a directive for the betterment of education, and we know it when directives that we receive are not meant to do that, are meant just to make us look good, right?
Yeah, you're right, Mary. And my whole point is simply this: if it's everybody's goal to get our students to where they are the most successful that they can be.
Right.
Okay? But then you've got to take a step back for a minute and think about what a student has to display as success. Now, you're a teacher, I'm a teacher, and Mary is a teacher. I took something first of all, I took something way back called the Iowa test. There wasn't a STAR test. I'm matriculated fine. I'm successful. I'm productive. I'm doing what I need to do. You probably took from Pennsylvania. Where'd you go to school? Louisiana. In Louisiana, you probably took some type of test. Okay, and you are doing fine.
Doing okay.
You took a tax test.
No, I took TOS.
You took a TOS test, and you are doing fine. I taught with 3 of the tests that we're talking about here. I taught students. I had students who were 100% passing on those tests. So at that point, when we see that we feel that students are too successful, we're going to change the goalposts. But think about what you're trying to, is your goal really to try to see if a student is functionally sound, or is your goal trying to get a student to where you're scaring them so that they won't be successful? What is your goal? Now, there are many things that I can do outside of a STAR test. The things that I teach my students for a STAR test, I can guarantee you this: they won't see it ever again in their lives after that test. But we're measuring them and failing them or passing them based on whether or not they can pass that. That is, to me, that's very self-serving on the part of whoever is creating this test. And to what end are you trying to what is the end that you're trying to accomplish? To me, it
Mm.
seems like the end that's trying to be met is that we can see these students unsuccessful.
But I don't even think that's all of that is what you said is true. But also with this new education system that we're placed upon, um, it's not even really to me about student success. It's about teacher failure. And what I mean by that is that every walkthrough we've had, which we have 3, 4, and 5, and 6, 7, 8 walkthroughs a day from the time we hit the building until the time we leave. Everything is about, well, you didn't do this and you didn't say this. So you wrote this on the board wrong, or you didn't write. So it's not even now, it has gone past student success to what is the teacher not doing. And if the teacher is not doing a certain thing, then it's causing student failure. Like Grimes said, it goes back to scapegoating. So at what point, and this is why so many teachers have left the profession, not only in Houston, not only in Texas, not only nationwide, because the respect is gone.
Mhm.
They don't respect us as professionals. They don't respect us as individuals. Come on now. I'm seeing teachers have anxiety attacks, depression, crying every day, leaving the profession that they love. Some people, this is the only job that they've ever had and have to say goodbye to it. When is enough going to be enough?
Well, go ahead.
May I put my parent hat on for a
Yes,
moment?
yes.
Parents, we can opt our children out of the STAR test. We have the legal right to do that. Please go to cvpe.org to learn about how to opt your kid out. And even if they're in high school and you're like, they can't opt out in high school, they can. There's many ways to do it. There's several options. Some are easier, some are more complicated, but there's ways. Please go to cvpe.org and learn how to opt your child out of the STAR test.
Say that those acronyms again.
cvpe.org. That's Community Voices for Public Education.
Is that a nationwide organization?
Actually, cvpehouston.org. I think I said it wrong.
Okay, and we'll make sure that we put it in the
Thank
comments.
you.
Yes, we'll make sure that we put it in the comments because that is what is most important. Now, I'm going to go back to this. Guys. When you are Rebecca, I agree with you to a certain extent because last year I think that I've seen several administration changes at HISD, and I think that the administration change that we had. First of all, I want to say this, and I should have said this at the beginning. I absolutely love my district. I was a teacher in the third largest school district in the country here in Houston. Okay. I love the district. I don't necessarily like certain administrations, but I love the district and I wanted to stay in the district my entire career. But I found that was not a possibility at this point, but I do plan to come back into the district at another time.
If there's a district to come back,
I love the district. I never think that one person will devour everything. But let me ask you all this: we've all been in the classroom for a certain amount of time, for a certain number of years. Do we fully understand that there were some challenges that were longstanding that needed to be addressed? What have you the challenges that you identified? Have you seen in the past few months any of those begin to come full circle or begin to move forward? The challenges.
I'm gonna say one of the biggest challenges, and y'all all agree, for me was discipline. I'm gonna just put it out there. Discipline was out of control, and it still is.
Now, I can tell you this: our discipline on our campus was very much in control at this point. But I'm going to say this: I think that had everything to do with the principal that was in place at that particular campus. the principal, when she came in, she was no nonsense.
Right.
And I think that that discipline would have been under control under her leadership, even without the other things that went along with that. I think that has everything to do with that building leader. Do you believe that it's important for district and school leadership, ladies, to have had successful classroom experience?
Of course.
In the
Oh
trenches,
yeah.
in the trenches
How can you lead
for a
if you don't
reasonable
know?
amount of time.
Take that one, Melissa.
How can you lead anyone if you don't even know where you're going? Like, you need to have been through it for a long time, not for 2-3 years, and then you felt like getting out of the classroom because it was hard, and so now you're going to lead people in a classroom.
Yeah.
If you couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
So you need to be, I'd say, like 10 years before you go into it.
And that's what I was about to say too.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that's reasonable. Do you guys believe that it's important for those teaching in the teaching profession to secure and maintain valid certification and continuing education?
Yes. And let me say this, because all the certification talk has been going on all over the city. Certification is not necessarily because you don't know your content. That's part of it. But the other part of it is legality. That's what it is. It's legality. If I'm not a certified teacher, according to the state of Texas, I can slap a child in their face. I wouldn't, but I'm just saying I could slap a child in their face. And if I'm not a certified teacher, guess what? I can go home with no repercussions.
Well, let me say this too. As far as certification, but certification means something. And oh my gosh, we're almost out of time. I'm going to give you guys the last word, but I want to say this. In speaking to certification means that you are committed enough to that profession to do what it takes to pay for that legal piece of paper, to study, to make sure that you have your credentials to where they need to be, and that you are able to teach that particular subject with fidelity, and that you
trigger word.
no, but with fidelity. And you know what? Don't let certain words that have been around forever, like anybody hijack that. Don't let people hijack your words.
Y'all saw how my head just spins.
But that you're able to teach that and teach that well, and that you are committed enough to seek continuing education in that field. That's
I was about to say, before you could even take the test, you had to have a certain amount of hours within the actual classroom, and then also a certain amount of hours within, at least when I was, because like I told you, I went through my university.
Yes.
You had to meet goals and expectations before they just stuck you out there. And then when you did go out there, you were with a group. You're with a trusted unit.
That's right.
And you and your unit were working closely together with your professor.
That's right.
You started off a couple of days out of the week, maybe for half a day, and then the next semester, you increased.
Yes.
So there was a gradual release. It was literally gradual release. Now that I'm thinking about it, for an adult, and
ACP
I honestly
too.
feel like that's what's needed.
Yes.
And that also happened in the ACP program.
Ladies, this is my last question. We have experienced record numbers of certified long tenured teacher resignations in this school year. Why do you believe this is occurring?
I think I said it in my last angry segment. No respect for the professionals that's in the career.
I don't necessarily agree with that. And we agree to disagree about that. I feel that from some people, from some entities, there's no respect. For many entities, there's a lot of respect.
Oh, that's not what a lot of people around the nation are saying.
And
a lot of
okay.
teachers,
and that's okay, and that's fine. And that has not been, because my experience has been a good experience on many levels. But I have heard some people. I know that there are some people that you're never going to be able to please. That they're going to always find something negative about something. However, I have seen teachers who are in very good positions who have been able to be allowed to have travel clubs with students, and they go on trips every year, and they're allowed to be able to do these things. So there are people and entities out there that do put teachers in the right perspective,
And those are the ones who stay.
That's right. That's right.
And then the ones who are treated like nothing are the ones who leave.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's
Eventually,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Mary Grimes, Melissa Yarbrough, my trustee, Miss Rebecca Williams, I thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to have, this is going to be a 3-part series because we're going to have, I want to get some male teachers in here too. And I'm going to get some teachers who and we taught with one of these teachers who was my teaching partner at the school that you all are at. And he was there for 2 years and he was out. And he worked with me on my campaign, but we're going to speak to people who entered in.
I miss them.
Yeah, we're going to speak to some people who were in and out and see why they decided not to stay with it, because we're talking about good people who made sure that they were in it for the right reason, and they had the heart for it, but they saw things around them that were just not sustainable. And they couldn't stay. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Melissa, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Mary. And thank you more than anything for making the commitment through all the challenges that you've seen to stay and be there for your students. One of the hardest things that I had to do was to tell my students goodbye.
Yeah.
But you know, for reasons that were out of my control, I had to do that. But I love my district and I wish the best for it. And I always feel that things are resilient. You know, that's like after a hurricane, after a drought, you see that leaf coming up through the ground.
Yeah.
Things are sustainable. They will come back. But
she always sees the glasses half full.
I always see that glass is half full.
When it comes back, I'll come back.
There you go. But thank you guys so much. Thank you for my comments. Thank you very much, BB, who's watching. Thank you. And she was with us at that school too. Yes.
Oh, hey,
yes. But thank you so much. And please continue to comment on our comment thread, guys. If you've got some things that you would like to say, maybe some things that we need to address the next time. But until then, like we say every week,
we can do it.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Oh, she did it.
Oh.